en mode écoute seule.
Welcome everybody. We will start our webinar in a few seconds, just to be sure that the majority of you are already connected. Just checking. Can you hear me well? Seems okay. All right. So we are very pleased to welcome you today to this webinar. We are more than 200 participants today, so we are very pleased and thank you very much to join us today. For this special webinar, the Julhiet Sterwen teams and Top Employer International teams are pleased to present you our third edition of a white paper about, as you can see, technology, how technologies and new ways of working are reshaping HR, well, human resources globally. And we'll discuss it later. First of all, to start this webinar, I would like to present my co-host, Benoit Montet. Hello, Benoit.
Hi, Livia.
Hi, sorry. So Benoit is the Global Human Resources and Innovation Expert at Top Employer Institute, based in Amsterdam, in Netherlands, and as myself, I'm in the west of France today.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Benoit Montet, and I introduce Livia Bahier Michel, who is the HR Advisory and Digital Transformation Practices Manager. A very long title for someone who is in the heart of the white paper that we will have after the webinar for Julhiet Sterwen. So thank you very much for guiding us through this session. But that's not all.
Thank you, Benoit. Yes, and we are very pleased to welcome our two keynote speakers for today. We will hear later Franck Gaillard. Hello, Franck.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to speak about the benefits of digitalization on HR management at Alstom.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to have you. So you are the Global Learning Director in Alstom. And we also welcome Serge Jaumain, who is the Innovation Manager in SPIE Oil and Gas Services. Hello, Serge.
Hello, everyone. Thank you also to give me the opportunity to speak about some innovations within SPIE.
Thank you. We are looking for that. A few technical information before we start. So we'll be able to have a Q&A session at the end of this webinar and at the end of each keynote. So don't hesitate to put your questions in the chat part on the side of the screen. We'll take your questions at the end of Franck and Serge's presentation, and at the end, of course, your microphones are muted, obviously, but keep in mind also that this webinar will be recorded, and you will be able to receive the replay after the session, as well as the white paper itself, of course. So first of all, before entering into the detail of this edition, can you tell us a bit more about the special history between Top Employers and Julhiet Sterwen, Benoit, please?
Yes, Livia. So I have to give you a confidence. The relation between Top Employer and Julhiet Sterwen is like a bromance. A bromance who began 3 or 4 years ago. And you see the different children of this bromance. The first one being the white paper that we edited and published 3 years ago. And it was really the root, the launch of this collaboration. It was about the DNA of the HR transformation. Last year, we published also a very deep, interesting document called Agility, the new ally of HR. What is interesting is that those two documents are still very actual today. And the last one, the very last one that you will receive after this session, it's about technology and the effect of digital on HR. But HR in a broad sense, not HR talking about only HR professional, but HR, human resources, the people, all the people in our organization. And the goal also was that finally we don't have to be afraid of digital. It's a way, like Livia told us, a way to enhance, to augment people. And finally, we are quite proud, and I have to thank Livia, because she's also the head of research for Julhiet Sterwen. Very proud because this report is have been COVID proof. Yeah, this COVID-19 moment is really the moment of truth for every study actually published. What is interesting there is also the perspective we have. We have a triple perspective, a triple angle of vision of one topic. The first angle of vision is the advisory vision. So Julhiet Sterwen looking at what company are demanding in terms of consulting. Then top employer, the audit company, what company are actually doing, what is the fact, what are the facts inside the companies. And finally, the third angle, thanks to our guest and keynote speaker today, we have some example of that. Experts talking about the reality, what really happened in the real life. So this is the past and the making of those reports.
Yes, thank you, Benoit. And another fact that we are proud of this year is that we have a really international edition. And we also ask our colleagues from the International Transformation League to gather experiences from our clients, for instance, from Canada with Rio and from Italy with Resource. Some of them you will find also in the white paper. So we are very proud of that too. So to enter into the topic, you will see that the document is built on two dimensions. You will find for each topic theory and definitions of each technology presented, and at the same time always feedbacks, experiences from the field, from our clients worldwide. And we have two very interesting examples today with us, of course. You will discover information about all of them. I will start already with the first topic. Well, just to have a global view, you will have three main technologies presented in this document, and then the two last chapters, 4 and 5, are more related to perspective, to future of work, and their possible impacts on HR and management processes. All right, let's go into it. So to start with the first one, well, the first one is about artificial intelligence and big data, two buzzwords of this year. Well, in terms of enhancing human resources, what is interesting to know here is that AI allows us to work with non-structured data, contrary to classical HRIS, for instance. And the other very interesting thing is that algorithms help us make predictions that help us making decisions in our HR and management processes. You will see a very interesting example with Saint-Gobain in the writing edition about talent potential detection worldwide, enhanced by AI processes. And you also have the example of PepsiCo. But what I would like to know also, Benoit, is what did you really find with the data among top employers on the field with your audits?
Yeah, thank you, Livia. Indeed, a very deep topic, very demanded and very buzz at this moment. What do we see among our top employers? So for the one who don't know us, we audit globally more than 1,700 companies worldwide. And what we see is that most of those companies, we talk about top employers, so the very advanced company. So most of them, quite 90% of them, are already equipped with a complete suite of HR information systems. So 90% of them have already access to big data somehow and structure data, as you said, Livia. But when it's come to interpreting those data, exploiting the data, having some automate for those data, we see that only half of them, 58%, are able to extract metrics to make those metrics the tool for decision making for HR team and management. And so in the field that is the most advanced in this domain, in artificial intelligence and the use of big data, is recruitment, with the first predictive model in terms of candidates, and also the use and the interpretation of video captation.
Thank you, Benoit. We see the same tendencies with the second chapter that is about automating HR activities with robots. Well, what do we talk about when we talk about robots? There are two parts, well, two kinds of robots. We defined what are the physical robots and social robots, like this one, for instance. Maybe you already know the example of Pepper. You've seen it in train stations or in bank agencies or automotive plants also. Well, it's still under experimentation for welcoming desk or sometimes in a recruitment process on campus. Yeah, you will see the example of Société Générale in the white paper about some proof of concepts about with Pepper on other kind of social robots. What we see more at test, I would say it's what we call the software robots. Two kinds of them too. There are the chatbots, the ones, well, the conversational robots that you can discuss with, writing or on the phone already or on your desk. And these chatbots can be powered by artificial intelligence or by automats, what we call the RPA, robot process automatations, that help processes to be easier made and allowing HR to be more well, free to personal interaction than to administrative aspects. Again, what do you see really on the field for the moment so far, Benoit?
Yeah, in the white paper, you will also discover the Société Générale Bank in France, a very good example of that. What we see is, what we analyze is that, again, the most advanced application for the use of robots is talent acquisition. Once again, we see that 85%, so the very big majority of them, of the top employer, have implemented already an ATS or CRM tool, CRM being candidate relationship management tool. And the only example we have in robots are the chatbots used for recruitment. But it's only, in our survey, only 10% of the top employer globally. So you see it's really, really minor. And those robots, when they exist, are very often, as you said, Livia, only internal transactional instruments, and they are not emotional. So that's the main step that have to be passed by the company actually in this domain.
Yes, you're right. Well, the third chapter is about tools around virtual reality and augmented reality. I will not go too far in this topic because our speaker, especially Serge Jaumain, will give us a good testimonial about this topic. So I just let you the floor for the data about this topic, Benoit.
Yeah, virtual reality, augmented reality, it's a very good example that's and that the chance we have in conducting audits in many companies worldwide. So we have discovered this best practice, fantastic practice when doing the audit for SPIE Oil Gas in Nigeria, who are top employers. And Serge will give you much more detail about this practice.
Yes, thank you. Well, as I said, the last two chapters are less about technologies, but more about how digital workplace and the new ways of working are reshaping our practices. What do you want to tell us about this topic? And again, Franck will give us also a very interesting experience on how he prepared the last years and was able to be COVID-proof also.
Yeah, indeed, Livia, it's about anticipation, and we will see through the example of Franck with the Alstom University that anticipation is key to maintain a certain level of activity. Maybe I can talk about in the new world of work, NWO, as we read very often in English newspaper. Maybe some words about home office, the buzzword also about networking and about well-being. So home office, what is interesting is that in 2019, so already 2 years ago, it feels like a century, only 55% of all the top employers had a formal home office agreement. So you see 55% is half average, but not so high. In Europe, it was 58%, so a bit more advanced than in other continents. So you can imagine that in terms of anticipation, it was not already there. In terms of networking, networking is key now. We live through Zoom, through Teams, through GoToWebinar as we are today. And it's interesting to see that in our survey, all our top employers make networking organization easy for the people, but only less than a third, 29%, reward their leaders for having a role as a network leader. And also only 23%, so less than a quarter of them, analyze the content of the social platform to detect innovation or pocket of tension. And of course, with no people at the office, it's becoming key to be able to analyze the mood of the people, not through looking at the people at the office, but through the analyze of a social platform and discussion between employees.
So we'll see what is going to be our next steps. And well, just to think ahead, we tried with our teams to project ourselves in the next 10 years. Well, we designed, we imagined four scenarios based on, well, great international experts, philosophers, economists, and sociologists. You will find the references also in our website if you want to go further. But we have chosen two axes to reflect upon. One about digital transformation, and the other one about ecological transition. And well, with these two axes, we tried to detail 4 scenarios: startup nation, controlled downsizing, collapsing, or green growth. And to see in these 4 scenarios where and how HR have their new places and advice to give, and to be able to advise the managers and the companies they're working with, or all the kind of organization that we will have in the future. And just for the short story, we even imagined last year, because we started the studies 1 year ago, we imagined a scenario with pandemics. So, well, it was not so funny, but we can see, as you say, that anticipation is key to be able to deal and to adapt well, as we can to the uncertainty that we are facing at work. I'll let you the final word.
Yeah, indeed, what we see in our survey, and we will see many things. I invite you all to join the Top Employer program for the one who are not yet into, or to listen to the publication that will happen in January, because in January we will publish the new numbers and the new analysis, and we will publish a trend report about how we see and how we can imagine the future, and how the Top Employer anticipate the future. So thank you for that, Livia. Let's give the floor to our guest. And first of all, Franck, I asked you the question already on the slide. Franck, how does a digital university, because you are the global learning director for Alstom, how does a digital university contribute to operational efficiency and competitiveness?
Thank you, Benoit. So yes, as you said, I'm the head of learning and development for the group, for Alstom Group. I'm also the head of the corporate university, Alstom University. And in order to respond to this question, I would say that yes, this was the key question we have been raising. It was in 2016 actually when I took this position. And it was clearly how could learning contribute to Alstom competitiveness at this point in time. And we came quickly to define the two main rails for us to follow and to take. First one was about digitalization. So we would clearly consider that in order to be much more contributing to the Alstom competitiveness, we would have to give the possibility to people to have access to knowledge anytime, anywhere, through any device, and as far as possible through any content. And the second rail was about customer centricity, in a sense that we would have to not only deliver the best training to our employees, but also to be able to deliver this training to our customers. And by following these two rails, we've managed to put in place a digital learning ecosystem that's been very useful for us, especially in the recent context of this pandemic. As the best example and illustration of this, the impact of this digital learning ecosystem, I would like to start by describing the evolution of the training sessions which are organized by Alstom University, comparing last year, 2019, to the first period of this new fiscal year for years, starting from April 20 to October 20, which you see on the right of after the COVID-19 flag, because you can consider that starting from March 2020, we've been very impacted by this, by the lockdown, especially in Europe. And what you can see also, based on the figures and the bars that represent the number of sessions for the months of April to October. And if you compare last year, 2019 on the left, and to the 2020, after the impact of COVID-19, you would see that the distribution of the session is almost the same. Actually, we have not had to cancel training sessions starting from that point. We've even had to organize more training sessions than before. And how come? But of course, thanks to digitalizations of our learning tools, which has started in 2016. I will come back to this later. So this means that we were ready and far before what has happened in March 2020, and we could not anticipate, of course, what would happen. But we've come to be future-proof in a sense that we've been somehow COVID-proof in that case. The digital learning tools we had put in place have enabled us to ensure continuity of our training activities, even despite this terrible event of the pandemic and the lockdown that came with. If you see the trainees hours, it's even more impressive, because it's not only that we've not had to decrease our activity, but we've noticed a large increase of the trainees hours and the time spent by people in learning, which has been a plus 33%, 35% of the increase. If you see, moving from 102,000 trainees hours to 137 trainees hours for the same period. So clearly, this digital learning ecosystem has made us COVID or future-proof when it comes to learning at scale, because all countries were concerned.
Okay, thank you, Franck. Very interesting. And what about? So I'm trying to turn the page. Yeah. And what about the ecosystem?
Yes, actually, all we made it happen was pretty much about the technological setup we've put in place. And if I come back to this aim we had in mind, being able as a learning organization to contribute to Alstom competitiveness, we quickly came to the fact that we would have to put in place a system that would be some sort of a set of learning solutions that would enable people to learn, but also to share their expertise. The key topic was to maximize the experience sharing across the organization. So people would not only have to be able to access quickly to knowledge anytime, anywhere, through any device, and would that be any content, even virtual reality content, but also be able to create themselves this kind of content. Would that be again e-learning modules, video tutorials, virtual reality experience, virtual visits, virtual tours, virtual visits of sites, of products, and so on. And all of that by themselves without the need for them to be software developers. Really, we wanted to put in place very user-friendly authoring tools.
But how do you measure the success of this ecosystem?
So if you see the impact in terms of volume of activity, you would first notice that between 14-15 and today, we moved from delivering trainings towards 2,500 people per year to more than 27,000 people in 1920, and now, whereas we are halfway of this 2021 fiscal year, we've already trained more than 30,000 people. So the increase is exponential, which is typical to the impact of digital transformation, I would say. But it's not only that the strategy enabled us to address much more people, but also in much more countries, because you would see that we've moved from 23 countries, which we were able to address, to more than 60 countries after a few years. And as you see with the figures which are mentioned in blue on the right hand corner of the slide, it's more than 280,000 digital learning hours which we have organized and delivered, more than 1.6 million connections to iLearn, which is actually the name of our learning management system. And this came not only with the fact that we had implemented this digital ecosystem, made it available to all employees, but also because we've managed to engage and motivate the experts, the trainers, because we've put in place simultaneously an internal trainer management policy, which has enabled us to reward their contributions, and this has enabled us to increase the contribution of these experts, moving from 120 internal trainers at the beginning to more than 600 now. And you would see that 85% of our trainings are actually today delivered by experts of Alstom, so internal trainers.
Okay, very nice. I see that the slides are really complete. So for the audience, of course, you will have the presentation and the recording. And please go back to those slides. It's really rich. Thank you very much for that. And maybe the last question, Franck, what do you see? What do you expect for the future?
Well, what we have noticed over time, and despite the fact that we have appeared to be somehow COVID-proof and able to ensure continuity of our training activities despite the lockdown, it happened that some trainings could not really be delivered at a distance by using typical tools like Microsoft Teams, or we use a lot of Klaxoon for interactions. But even while leveraging these wonderful digital tools, we reach a limit, because when it comes to special events that require a lot of interactions with people who need to feel the presence of others, so we really need to feel like if they were all together in a real same room. This does not work, of course, with the typical tools we use to mobilize for webinars and sessions like that. but it's even worse when it comes to technical training, because in that case, you would like to have people together in the same room working on materials, parts of equipment, and move them and analyze them, combine them together, so to build different setup engines and things like that. So in order to address these situations, we are facing a key issue, a big issue, in the sense that it requires from us now to enable people to club together in rooms, whereas they are not present in the same room, and interact with each other, interact with equipment, and sometimes defining pedagogical process, so that they come to learn how to perform technical tasks, so to assemble equipment and things like that. And this is why now we are exploring the use, a much stronger use of an advanced use of virtual reality, in order to be able to use virtual worlds in which we would be able to club together people working in different countries in the world, but with the feeling for them that they would recognize each other, be able to almost feel the emotions of the others, and be able to work together on the same dashboard, perform a Scrum workshop, or learn how to use different tools, so to replace a part on a bogie, or any part of a train, for instance. And this is possible today thanks to the technology, thanks to the evolution of virtual reality in the very recent years. I would say since 2019, it's become totally achievable. And this is what we are working on now, in order to reach this level of being able to deliver trainings for 100% of our catalogs and training needs.
Nice.
So for the moment, we are exploring different tools, different solutions, but of course we are facing some issues and some limits, in a sense that this kind of technology up to now was requiring very powerful laptops or computers, so to enable people to learn how to practice technical operations. But having to connect people to the computer itself, and one person at a time. But things are changing a lot, and now we are managing to find solutions that enable us to gather people on same virtual rooms, and perform these tasks together with trainers.
Thank you, Franck. This is really inspiring. I was just checking if there was a question for you, and there was one about the limits of extended reality. So you just answered this last point with what you explained to us. I think maybe Serge will have also comments to make after his presentation. So you have common grounds to share together. So I just let you, well, the participants, put your questions on the chat for the last part of this webinar. And if there are not other questions, just checking on the screen. I think it's okay for the moment. So maybe we will let the crowd for Serge, and then we come back to both of you.
Okay, indeed, there is no question for the moment. Do not hesitate to ask your question live, and we will come back to those questions later. And finally, Franck, what you have just concluded about the future and the need and the possibility of entering into a real virtual reality in training. Maybe, yeah, Serge will help us to see how it could be possible. So, Serge, the question to you is how to empower field operators. You will explain what are the field operators to gain professionalism and efficiency. What's your solution there?
Okay, thank you for the question. It was exactly the question I had as I took my position as the innovation manager a few months ago. And the first thing I had to do, I had in mind, is to see what exactly are SPIE Oil Gas Services activities. And if you see, if you have a look at them, they are focused on the client's assets throughout the life cycle, meaning that we're going to have operation during the erection, during commissioning, during maintenance and operation. And this in different disciplines. It can be mechanical, it can be electrical, it can be IT. In different environments, it can be in the Northern Sea, or it can be in tropical Africa, or even in a desert somewhere in the Middle East. And in different cultures, of course, obviously, because it's in different countries. We have settlements in more than 30 countries throughout the world. So it makes quite a diversity, I would say. And in this diversity, we see that there's a common factor as well. Always, it's the field operator. The field operator is always in front of the asset daily. He is in front of the customer daily, and this guy needs to be empowered to gain in confidence in front of the asset, in front of the complexity of this asset, in front of the customer, for demanding customer, more and more demanding, and to be also to gain efficiency. And of course, in the end, autonomy, because when he's on a remote site, there's nobody to assist him. And this is precisely what we try to reverse as a situation. So since 2017, SPIE Oil Gas Services develop digital means to provide more knowledge to the operator, to provide also more expertise for this operator directly on the field. And to do so, these developments has to be inscribed themselves, as also Franck said previously, to be in an ecosystem, because without being an ecosystem, it will only be a trendy or any fancy artifacts with no sense. This
yes, indeed.
Yes, sorry.
Okay, sorry, Franck. Yeah. No, indeed. Without ecosystem, it's a trendy artifact, but still, I'm quite curious about this trendy artifact. But first, can you detail a bit more about what ecosystem are you talking about?
All right. When we see an ecosystem, it means, of course, a complete chain of services for the targeted audience, for the targeted users, and these users need to have this the perception and the needs incorporated into this ecosystem, meaning that what we usually call the user experience should be as smooth as possible, and of course also feasible. And there's a question of pricing. This is another story. But this user experience needs to be smooth. So if we talk now about really for the operator within SPIE Oil Gas Services, what we did in terms of assistance to operator, as you see on the slide, we have two lines. There's the mobile digital documents, which aims to provide documents and also applications to the operator directly in front of the asset. And these applications can be asset tracking, it can be maintenance recording, it can be inspection surveys, preservation checklist, and even related tasks like logistic or HSE, well, whatever. And for this, to build this, to have this available, you need to have a complete chain of services, meaning firstly, the artifacts themselves, well, the tablet, for instance, or the mobile phone, but also the local comm and the long range communication to enable to go to the platform, the digital document platform. And once you have reached that link, you also have the expert on the other side to provide and to feed that platform with documents and applications that are useful for the operator. Now, going to the remote assistance itself, meaning the fact that we put together the expert in real time and the operator through interactive smart glasses like this, you see, that's the trendy artifact.
Nice.
You need also to have this ecosystem put in place. The artifact itself with the communication, local communication, long-range communication, and this might be in the sites, in the environment, and where we are, quite difficult to put in place because there are issues in that case. and also then putting a cloud service that makes this communication happen between, I would say, the expert and the operator in a real-time manner, that it's interactive. And of course, the network of experts, because without the expert, there's nobody to call up. And this is precisely what we want to have somebody to call.
Like Benoit, I'm curious, especially about the different artifacts. Could you tell us a bit more about your experience with this aspect of remote assistance through smart glasses?
So with the smart glasses, the feedback, we went through quite a journey. In fact, we had many proof of concepts due to our specificities. We have different environments. We had different, I would say, surroundings, and we had to test it on onshore platform, offshore platform, Nigeria, for instance, in the desert, in Middle East, in other places in Middle East, Abu Dhabi. We had to test it as well in a power plant in Africa. Well, several environments. And today, that system is in place, really in production in Kuwait, and has, of course, the first direct benefits, which is the travel cost cutting, because there's no travel anymore from the expert, and also more time for the expert to take care of several assets at the same time, because the travel time is saved. And we also have, well, all these together, this travel time and travel cost, we estimated it to approximately 80% saving. Really, you can go that far. And then there's another important metric, especially for the customer, for our customers in the oil and gas area. It's the personnel on board. Personnel on board meets the number of people on site. If you reduce that metric, you reduce the safety inductions, you reduce the local transportation within the site, you reduce possibly the lodging. So it's quite also an amount of money reduced for the customer. And now we have also, and as Franck said, you also have opportunity benefits. This COVID pandemic period will help, well, not help, but was the opportunity to have some, also some more gains, because we could override the travel restrictions that had occurred during these times. And so the expert didn't have to wait for long times of quarantine or something like that. With these Googles, you go straight directly to the site and helping the guy on site to do the job. So there were no, I would say, work disruption. So we could have business continuity even for the customer, which was very interesting. Last thing, but not least, is the long-term benefit. Of course, we cannot judge them now, but we expect them at least, is to have more knowledge share between the national field operator and the expert. So when it comes to be an interactive relationship, an interactive troubleshooting, for instance, there is some part of knowledge shared from the expert to the operator, and this helps this operator also to gain in autonomy.
Nice. Yeah, it's really interesting. I have no doubt that we will have many questions from the audience now or later. But everything seems to be ideal, but maybe to a nuance, like Franck did in his own university. Yeah, did you overcome some difficulty with this remote assistant? Or what can be the limit of this kind of tool?
Yeah, as you've seen on the slides, both systems, mobile digital documents and the remote assistance, both together, are heavily internet access dependent. And as such, and we are handling we are working in sites, remote sites, difficult access sites, but in any case, we will have industrial sites in which we will have strong electromagnetic pollutions, the EMCs. And these EMCs and these situations brings the communication issue be quite prevalent in our solution. And this is where we have to do some efforts. There are also some other, I would say, less technological issues, even when culture-centric issues. Most of these fancy things here are designed by English-speaking people, native English-speaking people, and we don't have most of the time native English-speaking people, and so the voice control and that kind of devices may not always recognize the instruction, the voice instruction that are given. So we have to work out a bit to customize the recognition. And the last difficulty, I would say, with this kind of solution, the remote assistant solution, is a legal issue, rather. Most of oil and gas sites are considered as sensitive, as classified regarding security I would say reasons and security issues. So in that case, we as SPIE have to convince client authorities that we may find a compromise somewhere to allow picture taking, the photo taking, without compromising security, of course. And well, this is a daily work.
Thank you very much. Really interesting. Maybe it's time for the Q&A, or do we have still? No, we don't. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Franck. Thank you very much, Serge. Maybe we can go to the Q&A now. Yeah, if I succeed changing the page, it's done now. So I have a question from the audience, and the question is for you, Livia. The question is: you mentioned Saint-Gobain in the use of artificial intelligence in talent detection, and can you, in very few words, tell us more about those use of artificial intelligence to detect talents?
Yes, okay, well, in just a few words, because Alban Bureau described it better than me, of course, in the white paper and in the previous webinar, if you want the French replay. They developed with their internal data scientist team algorithm to analyze other data than the classical data that were in the HR career paths and HRIS system, to be sure that they were not forgetting some information about training on the field, expectations in the annual review, for instance. So they performed massive, well, which is possible because it is a big company, so they have lots of data, but they perform massive analysis with the employees and the HR teams, and they were allowed also by the manager to do that, to propose other names for the people review than the ones that were just selected previously by committees. And they realized that with AI algorithm analyzing other data than the classical ones, that there were some people that maybe were not already identified as talent potential within the group, and that were also interesting to be considered. And well, they were able to do these studies also in the long term to accompany these collaborators. But what is important also is that AI and technologies, well, big data analysis is useful, but it was always at the end human decisions and committees. But well, technology is helping to make objective decisions, and sometimes maybe some people that were going abroad on specific experiences that were not taken into account into their own file was identified by the AI performed globally. I don't know if it's answering the question.
Yeah, I don't know. We will see that in the chat maybe. Thank you, Livia, for that. Just for information and to repeat what you have just said, you will find this example very detailed in the white paper. So rely to the white paper. I have a question for Franck about one point he just mentioned in his presentation about the enabling people to create or to build content. How do you enable your people to build content? And maybe before answering this question, can you detail your employee structure? Are they all high-level skilled people, or what's the structure of your employee? Before answering the question, how do you enable your people to build the content?
I would say that the workforce of Alstom is comprised of a massive part of engineers. Of course, comes a lot of white collars, but there is a big part of the population which is also comprised of industrial teams, so working in the factories, sub-factories. So we have on one side people who are very used to the digital tools, and others who have less such tools available for them on a daily basis. So we have also for sure to cope with this difficulty to make things available for them as well. So this comes mainly with making available computers in dedicated rooms in the factories, for instance, or providing tablets in the depots when it comes to maintenance activities. So we definitely have to make efforts into this direction, and some experiences have demonstrated to be successful in this domain. And but when it comes to the creation of content, actually we give access to all experts, usually who are also trainers, some softwares that are actually authoring tools given as a service. So these are software as a service and given access to those experts, and they are therefore able to create their content by themselves. So it's a quite complex but comprehensive set of digital authoring tools. So we use several solutions like the Cross-Knowledge platform with its own authoring tool as Mohive, EasyMovie for creating videos, Klaxoon for generating interactions in live sessions, but also Uptel for the use of virtual reality through the learning management system. So this enables us to give access to such content on any device, even smartphones that you would like to put in cardboard afterwards in order to recreate a fully immersive virtual reality experience. So all these tools are actually very user-friendly authoring tools, which we give access to all those who want to create content. And we have hundreds of content creators today who regularly use these authoring tools in order to feed our learning management system with new content regarding essentially technological content, technological training, but also more power skills or soft skills related content as well.
Okay, very interesting. Thank you, Franck, for the answer.
Yes, there's a question also for Serge, coming back to this specific ecosystem that you've been able to build with the remote documents and remote assistance. Did you develop it internally, or did you work with startups to perform that? That's the first part of the question, and the next part is what are the next steps of this project?
All right. Well, SPIE Oil Gas Services is primarily an industrial service company. Well, and has very few capability to make internal developments regarding tweaking, tuning hardware and software and things like that. We have some guys, but not enough for all the ideas we've got. So the practical approach there is to get efficient partners to do so and to develop, to code build our ideas. And if we consider the partners, it can be any kind of partners. It can be established companies, which we're using. It can be freelancers. It's startup companies, or even other branches of SPIE, because they also have sometimes the same issues, the same would say specificity might be sometimes in some areas. So we always challenging all those guys to find the adequate solution for our service. Regarding regarding specifically remote assistance, we pre-selected a lot of providers, because such kind of solution you have to, if you click on the internet, you find loads of them. But we really tried some of them and used the service and used it with tablets, and especially also we had some specifically with just ATEX tablets and ATEX Googles, because we are in environment, explosive environment, and so we had to use it in that specificity. And we had AMA Expert Eye, which is now our partner, which is a French startup. It's a spin-off of Ubisoft, which initially was a game developing company. So they have quite a lot of experience in video streaming. Right.
Nice.
To your next question. What's still going on? What's the next steps, so to say, in this ecosystem? Of course, we have still to work out the ecosystem. It's not complete. It's not tackling all the situations, and especially regarding communication. For the close range and the long range communication, we still have some work to do to gain in stability, to gain in fluidity, and to go also in accessibility, depending on the country, depending on the network we are going to enter. We also have to adapt, as I emphasized, these Googles here to make them speaking to non-native English speakers. Well, as we all are here. And this is always also quite a challenge sometimes. And then going further down the track is to bring new services to both sides, I would say, of the users. On one side, the operators; on the other side, the experts. So on the expert side, we are working on data analytic platforms that takes process data from the assets to analyze them, with help of IE or not, depending on the situation, but to bring to the expert a historical view on the asset, so we can better have a better insight in what's going on and how we can help the operator. And then even further, we consider having access to some digital twin of the asset, to also visual digital twins through 3D models, and possibly augmented reality or even extended reality in that case. On the operator side, we'd rather consider, and as you emphasized previously in your white paper, going for expert system chatbots. So we give the operator some first basic, I would say, expertise on some assets with an AI enhanced expert system that may help him to clear out, without a human intervention, without a human expert, some basic situations, and even more easily, because there is no judging by the machine as it could be by the expert. Well, in any case, we are following quite closely the market and different markets, in fact, a service market, for a solution they're proposing to incorporate them in our ecosystem as well.
Great. I could listen to you, Serge and Franck, for the coming 2 hours, but unfortunately our time is counted. I see maybe there is a last question, but I can't answer the question. No, there is no question left. So thank you very much for your thank you very much for your testimonial. They were really rich. I invite our audience to eventually go further and listen again to the webinar, because it was really rich. And I also invite you to go back to the slide, because they are also very deep. Read the white paper and contact Livia for Julhiet Sterwen and the best advice possible, and contact Benoit for HR certification. to get the best benchmark of how company or the best company acts for the people worldwide. So thank you very much, Serge. Thank you very much, Franck and Livia. And maybe Livia, I will let you the end word.
Thanks you.
Yes, thank you very much, all of you, and don't hesitate to come back if you want to share also your experiences and ask us to share with other customers or your teams.
Thank you very much. Have a good day further. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.